I bet you can't tell me what it smells like in the Sistine Chapel. You never actually stood there and looked up at that beautiful ceiling. Seen that.
This episode of The Harmonious Gentleman is brought to you by our friends at Blind Man Brewing, the most awarded brewery in Canada. They brew innovative, high-quality, and flavorful beer while working for sustainability through their green initiatives. Blind Man Brewing hosts all kinds of harmonious fun at their beautiful tap room in Lacombe, Alberta. Live music, cornhole leagues, wonderful tacos, or a refreshing pint with friends, there's always something fresh and tasty at Blind Man Brewing.
If podcast episodes were the number of people killed in 1995 by anti-government extremist Timothy McVeigh in the Oklahoma City bombing, you'd know this has to be episode 167 of The Harmonious Gentleman.
Hey guys, I'm sitting here on a bench looking at a canal and a field from outside my Airbnb near Shipluden, South Holland, Netherlands. I'm on a trip with my family where we're cycling from city to city and trying to see a bunch of the Netherlands and put a lot of miles on those bikes too. It's been great so far. I'm about halfway through the trip. And yeah, I guess I need to just say I miss you, Graham and Chris, and all you listeners too, of course. It's weird to be doing an episode this way, recording kind of solo, but I can't really think of an environment better than what I am sitting in right now. Just had a glass of wine with Krista and kind of recap the day. Looking out at, we're kind of staying between villages right now. So what I'm looking at is like a few boats parked along the side of the canal and some fields, some wind turbines in the distance, but it's just so calm. And every once in a while a cyclist will pass by and say hello. And yeah, it's so peaceful here. Such a great way to spend good chunk of my summer holidays. But I do miss you. So our next episode, I hope we can kind of get back together in real life.
Hey, gentlemen. Graham here, and it's so lovely hearing your guys' voices from different places around the world. Chris, I believe you're in Quebec. Tyler in the Netherlands, and I too am in quite an exotic location. I'm in the upstairs portion of our home in Red Deer, Alberta. And we actually did our main trip of the year earlier, which was just a lovely camping trip, a couple of camping trips in a row out in BC. Harvey, how were those trips?
They were really good at times, but other times I just felt like it was kind of boring when it was only our family.
That's right, because it started off with a whole bunch of other families, like 20 kids running around, and then it was just us. Why was that boring?
I don't know. It just felt like something was missing. I mean, like, we've never really gone camping just as one family. We've always done it with, like, you know, our relatives or our dinner club, and it just felt like something was missing after our 4 days at Harold's Lake. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. I think I hear that. Definitely missing that community, and I echo that when I hear you guys' voices, and we can't sit in the same room and record together. I miss you guys too, and I look forward to seeing you guys again real soon. But I had you guys tell me about your traveling, and you sent back a bunch of wonderful voice notes that I'm going to sort of turn into our episode here, our sort of mini little midsummer Harmonious Gentleman travel episode where you can hear about how we've been doing, and we can have this conversation through spliced audio files in Logic. And Harvey, do you want to come along for the ride?
Where?
Well, the podcast ride.
Well, depends.
Okay, well, maybe I'll coax you into it a little bit here.
This segment is brought to you by Cilantro and Chive. Delicious, creative dishes, a huge variety of locally crafted drinks, and with locations in Lacombe and Red Deer, they're making two communities more awesome. Check out their mouth-watering Burger of the Month, a rotating menu item that satisfies your hunger and supports local initiatives and charities. Cilantro and Chive. Fresh, simple eats.
Shanna and I had the opportunity to travel to the province of Quebec. And while I'm not on the road recording this, these are just some of the thoughts I had about the trip. We traveled with our friends Jim and Michelle, and it really is nice to have traveling companions that you trust, that you have similar ideas about how traveling works with, and who you can get along with for a long period of time, because we shared a lot of spaces, a rental car, and in one case, even a hotel room for the night. We had the good fortune of going to both Montreal City and Quebec City, and what a beautiful part of our country. Lots of times when Shannon and I travel, we'll head to another country, often to Mexico or to the United States, but we really enjoyed exploring a little bit of our own country. And I think a lot of people had the same thought. Maybe it's always busy in Quebec. There are festivals that are kind of going on all summer in both of those cities, but we really enjoyed seeing a lot of people from all kinds of different places. The World Cup was also on, so people seemed to be dressed up in their own countries, jerseys and that kind of thing on the streets of all of the cities that we saw. One amazing thing to me was just how beautiful and old both Montreal and Quebec are. And we were going on walks and into buildings and seeing churches and historical sites that dated back to the 1600s. Obviously, there's nothing man-made that has lasted in Alberta that is that old. So it's kind of cool to see things that have been around for a few hundred years. Most notably, I think, when I go on vacation, I don't do a lot of religious things, but I'm always overcome by the beauty of cathedrals and religious sites. And Notre Dame, which is famously in Paris, but also there's a Notre Dame cathedral or basilica actually, in Montreal, is just a beautiful site. Very cool opportunity we had was to watch a light show that was inside on Sunday night. So it gets dark outside and then they project, I'm not even sure how they do it, a light show inside the cathedral, illuminating different aspects of the building with kind of fancy lights, and then also being played to music. I think the show was about 15 minutes, but it was really worth seeing. There's also a basilica near Quebec City that was built about 150 years ago, I think, and it's a chapel, I guess, or a shrine to Saint Anne, who is historically recognized as the grandmother of Jesus, and so Mary's mother. It's really a beautiful place, and a building that was just outstanding in its architectural design, in the stained glass that was around the whole building. And we were in the building on a Saturday when a pilgrimage was happening, so we watched as hundreds of people kind of came into the building singing and performing some religious rituals. It was really interesting. A major highlight, though, was traveling along the St. Lawrence Seaway and seeing where the Saguenay River meets the St. Lawrence. Lots of beluga whales who are catching fish, I suppose, in the area. And just from a cliffside lookout, we were watching and spotting belugas all over the place. And while we were looking right at our feet, like in the water, but below where we were standing, we heard a whale spouting. And it was a different kind of whale, a minke whale. There are 9 different whales, apparently, that come into the St. Lawrence Seaway. Who knew? And tons of whale watching charters. I'm really familiar with that on the West Coast and assumed that kind of stuff was happening maybe in Hudson's Bay and around Halifax, but the St. Lawrence is just all kinds of whale activity. So if you're into that sort of thing, it was really marvelous.
So this episode is about traveling, and I'm going to start by talking about just why I love it and why Krista and I have made conscious decisions to prioritize travel with our family. And yeah, then we'll kind of go from there. But I think, first of all, it's just, I mean, this is kind of obvious. Like, it's fun. It's enjoyable to get away from home. And it's fun to not be working as much as I like my job. It's enjoyable to not have to mow my lawn as much as I enjoy mowing my lawn. But like, just to get away and be kind of cut off from everyday life and experience something new, I think is, for me, super valuable. And then add to that learning about other cultures, learning about how life is lived in other parts of the world, how there's so many aspects of being human that are shared between people, whether that in the Netherlands or Panama or the Dominican Republic or Canada. Like, we're all people, and I find it super interesting just to see how we live in our communities all over the world. One thing about the current trip that I'm on in the Netherlands is I just am in awe of the infrastructure and the engineering that goes into the cities and just the landscape here. I could talk for a long time about how incredible how the Netherlands is, but maybe this isn't the time to do that. But just like coming here and seeing that with my family has been unbelievable. And I think it's just a testament to why we should travel in the first place, right? Like, we can be inspired by what other humans are doing in other parts of the world. And sometimes we'll go on a trip and we'll experience something that makes us extremely grateful for what we have at home. And I think both those things are extremely valuable.
So I mentioned that I went on the trip with our friends Jim and Michelle, and Jim is actually with me right now. And Jim, one of the things that I always ask people when they go on a holiday is, what was your favorite sound from the trip?
That's really interesting that you would ask that, because on this trip, I definitely had a favorite sound. We were up in Tudasac, where the Saguenay River meets the St. Lawrence Seaway, and it was really cool. We got to see quite a few beluga whales flip-flopping in the water, and we were coming back over the ferry, and we decided to have one more stop at the roadside pullout, and we were about to be done after seeing a few beluga whales, and I heard this favorite sound. The minke whale was below us and popped up out of the water, and the blowhole was in a massive whoosh, a sound like you've never heard before. And that was definitely the highlight of my trip. And usually no one asks me, what was your favorite sound of the trip? So it's interesting you asked that.
Yeah, right. What a coincidence. Thanks, that was awesome. And such a surprise, I think.
It definitely was a surprise, and that made us stay longer and in search of more whales and more of those sounds, I guess.
I think what's also cool about holidays is you end up meeting people you wouldn't expect. So we were just in this, like, when this happened, like a roadside pullout that looked like a construction site almost. But there was another family from Switzerland who was driving around in a camper, and the man had a drone that he had sent out to look at the belugas, and actually shared some pictures with Shanna sent him a video of this whale Jim's talking about, and this guy had some drone shots of the belugas, so that was pretty cool.
It was really neat. It's just amazing how quickly you can be unified with a couple and with their family from a faraway country just over this one sound, this one whale happening to be in the Saguenay River.
Whales bringing people together since, I don't know, when they used to hunt them for candles.
So, June, we're not traveling right now.
Yeah.
We already did our camping trip this year, and so we're just at home enjoying the summer. But we are all talking about our experiences traveling, what we like about traveling. We've got a big family trip coming up in a couple of years.
Okay.
And we thought maybe you could just tell us what you like about traveling.
Okay. I like a lot of things. I like that you get to try new foods.
Yes.
That's pretty interesting because you can have opinions if you like them or not like them, like sushi or just food. I like the food.
Are you pretty adventurous? Would you try something a lot different than what you've seen before?
I mean, sometimes I'm kind of picky, but I would try it.
So you think part of traveling is the food?
Yeah.
What else?
I like a lot of beach vacations so you can get a swim. I like to see all the cute little towns because there's all these buildings. And then I like to see the difference of big cities and like little towns. They're pretty interesting, the difference on like big cities or I'm really looking forward to that when I'm 10.
Yeah. And maybe lastly, June, what do you have like a travel memory that sticks out in your mind that you maybe remember? You can take a moment to think about it if you'd like.
I remember when I was in Phoenix in the United States. It was really fun. We went with all my cousins, almost all of them, and we got to rent a home that had a pool in the backyard.
Yeah.
So, we did a lot of fun stuff in that. It had, I think, like an arcade thing, like one, I don't know.
Do you remember how long the drive was to get there?
Very long. We just had to drive and stop at a hotel, then keep driving.
Do you think all those hours of traveling and the long days, do you think it was worth it when you got there?
Oh, yes, for sure. It was like really fun. It was really hot.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of cactuses.
Yes, you did.
They were big and they're pretty cool.
Cool.
I just didn't want to touch them.
That's right. Thank you for sharing, June.
You're welcome.
This segment is brought to you by the King's University in Edmonton, Alberta. Check out King's brand new Bachelor of Kinesiology degree. This integrative, highly practical health sciences program is about preparing you for careers in human performance, sports, and biomechanics. If you have a passion for movement and exercise, visit kingsu.ca/kinesiology.
So this trip is about half over for us, and we've already biked hundreds of kilometers with our kids. We're fairly young. Like, my youngest is 8, and then I have an 11-year-old, and my oldest is 12. But these kids are biking a ton on this trip. Today was a down day where we biked from our bed and breakfast near a small village into the city of Rotterdam. And it was kind of a quote-unquote chill day, but we biked 40 kilometers. And yesterday we biked 80 to get from our past accommodation. So this trip hasn't been sitting by the beach every day or sitting at the coffee shop. There's been parts that have been a challenge physically and mentally, and just getting kind of geared up time and time again to move on to the next place is a bit of an adventure. So people, when they hear that's how we're doing this trip, I think some people question why, or maybe some people are intrigued or find it interesting why we would choose to travel that way. But I think it's important that if we're going to travel all the way here, it's important that we do learn about the culture here and we see the people and we see the communities. And no better way to do that than to go slowly through those places. And if we're going to come all the way here using all these resources, money, time, energy, then we don't want it to just be about a holiday. We also want it to be about learning and growth. So on a trip like this, I would say we hope it's half holiday and half adventure. The adventure piece, I think, is crucial for our kids. I think, and for us too, actually, just to learn how to work together in tough situations where emotions might be high and we're exhausted, or things aren't going the way we expected, or the navigation app on our phone isn't working properly, or maybe a bike gets stolen, right? These are things that are a part of the trip that may not always be fun in the moment, but are a part of the experience and also kind of why we do it. And I know that seems a little bit strange to like intentionally seek out challenge, but I mean, yesterday was probably one of my most challenging days on this trip. But today I'm here sitting looking at the canal with a glass of wine, able to reflect on that, right? And learn from it and grow. And I'm sure my family and my kids are doing the same in their own way on this trip.
Another thing that I've noticed when I travel, maybe Jim, you feel this too, is that I end up reading a little bit more than I would if I was at home. Anything catch your eye in the book department?
Well, if you're carrying around a backpack, you tend to have to quickly select a couple of books that you can take along. And I chose 3 books. One was more of a writing book, one where I could write about my past, some stories. And one was about my Mennonite heritage. And the other one was a book, Draft Day by Doug MacLean. And being a hockey fan, it is so intriguing to kind of read about, the things, the behind the scenes of the NHL, the scouting departments, the general manager, and his role with his staff, and the analytics thereof, the trades that were made, the trades that weren't made. It's quite intriguing, and you're just like, hey, I chose this book. I'm going to read it. I can't go and return it. I can't go switch it out. This is the book that I chose within that 1 minute time frame, and I am committed.
That's right. I took along 2 books. Neither of them I finished, but one was called Self-Compassion for Educators, and the other was The Hidden Potential, The Science of Achieving Greater Things. So I can't really tell you how good they are because I'm only partway through both.
Well, I'm in the process of achieving greater things. I do believe I'm going to expand my books to be reading some more educational perspective books, especially, I'm kind of on the end of my career. I should have been doing it sooner, but books are a great accompaniment on these on the trips.
Totally.
I want to acknowledge the amount of privilege required to take a trip like the one I'm on right now. To take 5 people to Europe for 3 weeks requires a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of energy and planning. And I understand that not everybody has those things at their disposal. And I'm extremely grateful that I'm able to do something like this with my family. I don't take it lightly. I don't necessarily feel guilty about traveling like this, but I do want to kind of make note that sometimes there's conflict with other values that I hold. Like, for example, I understand the impact of air travel and my carbon footprint and climate change, all those things. I understand that. I also know that it's important to me to be generous and that my local community is super important. I know those things. but I still go on these trips. So I want to acknowledge those things, but also point out that a trip like this can be more than just a holiday. And I think going on holiday is important. I'm not trying to downplay that, but for us as a family, we've made conscious decisions to live a certain way, and a trip like this fits in with it, even though sometimes there's some tension.
One thing, I come from a family where my brothers have traveled a lot, like a lot. They would have a lot of stamps in their passport. Currently they're in Nashville, so that's kind of cool. But one of the things my dad used to do is often before big trips, we would like have a little dinner or something, and he would always pray. And I remember one of the things he'd always say was like, what a privilege it is to be able to travel, because probably throughout history, like unless you were ultra rich, you didn't really go outside of your own town probably, or farmyard or whatever. So I do believe it's a privilege to travel, but I also think it's so amazing how it can open up your own perspective, introduce you to new cultures and language and experiences that otherwise you wouldn't get a chance to do, especially if you take kids with you.
You'll see where I'm going with this. In grade 5, we have this group called Grow Boys. I do believe that's what it was called. And we would go to a school and see different sessions. And my favorite session every year was what was called the Human Library. And I think traveling is today's human library. You can, if you go out there and travel, you can see so many different things, so many new things. And what a greater opportunity than to either go with a group of school kids or your own kids, and everything becomes a human library. You can see what intrigues them, especially on a trip like to the Dominican Republic. You can say to students, you can say, hey, what do you think of that? Hey, what do you know about that? Or they will share things on their own initiative with you, and you're like, wow, I never thought about that. So the idea of the human library exists wherever we travel. There's so many different things to see, especially with my own son recently on a trip to Seattle. It's just sometimes these the trips, the things that we see leads to kind of, I guess, leadership opportunities or opportunities to be able to experience, to be able to question, to be able to wonder about things, with no answers, but just saying, hey, this is part of life. Those human libraries exist all around us, and a lot of times traveling takes us to those places, many different things to see and do.
About 20 years ago this summer, I went on a massive trip to Southeast Asia by myself and visited my brother when I was there. But an EA that I worked with at the time, I felt like got a prophetic word for me before I left. She said, everything that happens on this trip, consider it part of the adventure. And that was so good to hear, because even the very first day, my flight was delayed by 24 hours and I was stuck in Seattle and with not much to do. But I remember thinking right away to her words, okay, this is part of the adventure. And when you think of, how perfectly something has to go in your own mind for it to be a perfect trip, if that's what you kind of measure a trip by, you're probably going to be disappointed every time. But if every part of what you do is part of the adventure, I think traveling becomes a little bit different.
Sometimes circumstances or finances doesn't allow us to travel. One of the things you can do is to talk to somebody who has traveled, and they traveled to a certain place. Just kind of nag them, pester them, ask them these little questions about what they saw, what they heard, what they saw, or perhaps even what is their favorite sound from that trip.
Exactly.
It can be quite intriguing to hear the perspectives of other people on their trips, to see, hey, what was new for them, what might be a do-over, or what was the most intriguing thing that you saw.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it makes me want to go travel right now.
One thing I've always struggled with when it comes to traveling, primarily with significant trips, longer adventures, traveling further away, more investment, has been the pressure for it to go a certain way, I think. You take the time off and you're relying on weather turning out the way you hope it does, or the accommodations, or any number of things that can not go the way you picture it. And I think it is part of the adventure, knowing that it will not go perfectly and need to appreciate things as they come. But we've got, I think I mentioned on the pod before to you guys for sure that we've got, I have a year coming up in 2 years that I get off. It's a deferred salary. So it's a year we're taking off with our kids. And the plan is to go on a trip, a very long trip, kind of to many places around the world and stay for a decent amount of time at each place and try to spend as much of the 12 months as we can away. And it's a huge undertaking, and we're slowly planning, but it is 2 years away. But one thing is this thought in my mind, this real sense of pressure to plan it well, to plan the aspects you can plan well, be smart about our decisions, and just give ourselves the best chance for it to go smoothly. And already this far out, I feel it. I can feel the oh boy, if we make this decision wrong, or if something goes poorly out here, that could be a real just a reason for us to sort of take our time more. So that's always been a thing for me with traveling. It's just that like, pressure to make sure it goes the way you want it to go. And also realizing you can't control everything. You can't always control everything. And to think that you can is some hubris. So trying to stay balanced in that. And, I'll definitely let you know as the planning for our trip continues on here. And June just sat down again with me. And are you excited for a year off, June?
Oh, so excited.
Why don't you share, what one place do you want to go to around the world that you most look forward to?
France.
France. And why is that?
Because you probably know, I'm in French grade.
She's in French immersion, so you want to go show off your French skills.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to say bye?
Au revoir.
This segment is brought to you by Birdie Coffee. The team at Birdie Coffee is passionate about high-quality, locally made craft beverages. Enjoy a decadent latte, freshly roasted espresso, or something iced and delicious. Located in Red Deer, Alberta, Birdie Coffee Co. is a stop well worth making. But don't worry, if you aren't in the area, you can get their fresh roasted coffee beans delivered right to your door. Head to birdiecoffeeco.ca to learn more, or check them out at the Gasoline Alley Farmers Market, Thursday to Sunday.
So here's my confession, and I'm going to try to keep it short. We got to our bed and breakfast last night after a long bike ride, and I decided to go into town on my own to pick up some groceries. I took the bike, pedaled into town, parked it, went into the store, filled a cart, came back out, and my bike was gone. It wasn't where I left it. So I was with a full cart of groceries running around the building, and having a bit of a panic attack because I knew that my bike had been stolen, and I knew that it was my fault because I didn't lock it up. It wasn't a conscious decision to leave it unlocked. It was more like I pulled into the parking lot knowing that I needed to lock my bike up. But then the next moment I was in the store looking for pizza to bake in the oven. It was just like, it just didn't happen. It wasn't a choice. It was just a mistake. So that is my confession, is that I made a massive mistake on this trip, and it kind of wrecked the day yesterday for us as a family. I needed to, Krista needed to come into town, pick up the groceries. I had to walk back. And then on top of that, I don't have a bike for what we're doing today, or how am I going to get back to Amsterdam from here? So those are problems that need to be solved, and they will be solved. And that is, like I said, part of the adventure, part of the trip. But I didn't want that to happen yesterday. So my confession is I didn't lock my bike up. I'm embarrassed. I think I'm a good traveler, but had one of those moments that makes me question that. And I'm really grateful that the owner of the Airbnb has some old bikes that she might be willing to sell me, so that I can kind of continue on this trip. So I'm really grateful for that, and I'm really grateful for my family who has forgiven my stupidity and will still continue to travel with me. So yeah, that's it. That's my confession. I talked about travel being about solving problems and thinking on your feet. And yeah, I created an opportunity for that, for sure. Yeah, that's it.
Well, I love the opportunity to visit old cathedrals and churches, new ones too, but going into older places and to see what it looks like where people worship is just really fascinating to me. I like to look at the symbolism and the iconography, and Catholic churches are absolutely drenched in this stuff. There's statues, reliefs, stained glass, mosaics, altarpieces, among many, many other things. One thing I thought of while walking past a literal confessional, a confession booth within a Catholic church this summer, was how their tradition seems to be so rich in history and symbolism and icons and liturgy and images. And many of the Protestant churches that I'm familiar with in the West anyway are so plain. I'm not 100% sure if I am a Calvinist, although I've attended a Reformed church my whole life, but John Calvin's hate of icons has really impacted the way I grew up. I think my confession is, isn't iconography to images what theology is to words? And maybe my confession is, I don't know if that's true or not, and I probably should. So please email the show and let me know. Peter, if you're listening, it should probably be you who sets me straight on that.
So, gentlemen, I will give my confession as well here to close out our episode. I went to see The Odyssey with some very good friends a few weeks back, and it was a very late show, started at 10 o'clock at night, got home very late, but it was a pretty wonderful movie, just a good old-fashioned epic. Really enjoyed it. And so, because it's become quite a hit this summer, a lot of conversations with friends and stuff have been about this movie, and it's one of the things that in conversation I'll say, hey, have you seen The Odyssey? And we'll talk about it. And so my confession is, last night I was hanging out with Hans, and I looked over at Hans, and in all honesty, I just looked at him and said, Hans, have you seen The Odyssey yet? And the look he gave me was of utter confusion, and also not really knowing, I don't think, what to say, maybe expecting me to start laughing. It turns out, in fact, I did watch the movie with Hans, and I, in fact, sat right next to him for the full 3 hours. And that's my confession, that I don't know if it's just the movie was so engrossing I forgot who was there with me. We didn't talk much during the movie, but I did tell him I've been asking all of my friends about it, and it just felt like that's something I should ask him about. So it was a moment that I felt really awkward. And Hans, you are a memorable person, and I am slowly losing my memory. And with that, everybody, I think that will close off our experimental short summer extravaganza of traveling. Just our thoughts about the act of traveling from the road, from Tyler and Chris. Thank you guys for sending in those wonderful thoughts and feelings about your travels. I really enjoyed hearing your guys' voices and what you're up to. I look forward to seeing you guys again real soon. And for the listeners, we will be returning with a regular clip right away here. So expect us to get back to our regularly scheduled 2-week windows, or 2-week between episodes. And with a fresh batch of topics, with the new season starting off soon, we'll have some announcements having to do with sponsors and merch and all that great stuff coming up. Lots of ideas for the new season. Lots of renewed energy to spend time with a gentleman and delve deeper into this thing we call life. And I'm realizing now that I do not like the pressure of finishing the episode, but I must. We'll see everyone again very soon on the Harmonious Gentleman podcast.
Harmonious Gentleman. There's a part of me that loves the familiar, the end of the journey, the harbor, the cooking fires at home. There's always the other part. That part loves the voyage. The open sea, storms, strange shapes of uncharted islands, demons, giants.